Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Former Titan center Ben Jones is in studio with us. We are happy to take your phone calls. If you got questions for Ben, we can take them. 615-737-1045 is the number. You want to talk about this Bears game now?
Sure. Let's get it. Let's get it over with.
You sure?
Sure.
You don't seem that excited. What? So take me through this from your perspective. Because I have walked into a lot of sad boy locker rooms before, Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of losing locker rooms. Anybody covers wins, anybody covers losses, right? You see, you run the full gamut of emotions in an NFL season. But as a player, when you lose a game like that, how do you even process it? And I don't know that because the Titans have lost games before, and you guys have won big games, obviously. But I don't know that I've seen them. In fact, no team in the history of the NFL has lost a game to a team that was trailing 17-0 and had less than 150 yards of offense. So I'm not sure if you can provide proper perspective on what it is to lose a game like that one.
Yeah, that's when it's hard to walk in there as an offensive player. You walk over there to the defensive side, you shake every one of those guys' hands like, man, we're sorry. Y'all played your tails off. Hey, if y'all keep that up, we're going to get it fixed. Like, because they played lights out. That's
defense.
Yes, no doubt. The defense did their job, and as an offensive player, you feel terrible. Like, it snowballed on them, and that's part of momentum in the NFL. Once it's going, you can feel it. You're trying to make the next play, and it doesn't happen. Then you start reaching, and turnovers happen. It's a terrible feeling. Like, you see the light just closing in, and you're trying everything. You're hollering on the sideline. You're trying to do anything to bring a spark, and it just didn't happen.
And it's such a hard thing to quantify because it's not like you can really grasp it in real time. Maybe you can in certain moments, but for the most part, that snowball effect, you don't feel it until you're already rolling downhill, one would imagine at that point.
No doubt. We've had games like you can feel the life like, hey, man, it's got to be this drive. We can't have another 3 and out. Who's going to make this play? So every time you're in the huddle, like, hey, you just got to do your job. And that's where they're young. I give the offensive line, they are young. They haven't played a lot of ball together. When we were veterans, I'm like, it's no reason to holler, scream, hey, Taylor, block your guy. Roger, block your guy. I'm going to block my guy. Give Derek the ball. Let him do what he does. Derek, don't try to hit a home run. Let's just get the first down and get the drive started so we can take a breath. After you do that, all right, let's settle down. Let's make a play. You got good guys. It's not like they don't have a bad roster. They have guys who can make plays, and it's not like they're outmanned. We've had teams and stuff in the past where you were outmanned out there, and that's what it comes down to. Just, hey, control what you control and don't do too much.
So on the flip side of that, because I remember when Saffold first got signed, he struggled. Like
yes.
it was not easy for Roger, and I remember him like trying to explain to us because of course we were walking in the locker room being like, "Hey, what's the deal? You're a really good offensive lineman. You should be better than this." And he was explaining a couple of different things that I don't think the people necessarily understand in real time because you watch the game, you see an offensive lineman or you see a quarterback take a sack, you blame the offensive line, however it works, right? So when Saffold got signed and you guys were trying to coalesce as a unit, what was the learning curve like and what was the moment where it felt like that kind of clicked for you guys? Because after a while, that was the most unstoppable play that you have was run left.
No doubt. And that's what it was. We knew, hey, you're a Pro Bowl guy. Like, how can I help you? Are they making you set a different way as a pass protection? Are you feeling uncomfortable? I remember at one point, I'm like, hey, just block him. Like, I know he's telling you to do this technique. I'll take the blame for you. I'm like, hey, I told him to jump set. Hey, I did this. Like, at some point, you have to have a leader on that line and be like, hey, I'm going to take the heat for you. Just block him. Because if you win and you block them, they don't care. The Monday meeting, when you win, is a lot better when you walk in there Monday and you lost. And then, hey, you didn't do the right technique. I'm like, at some point, winning fixes everything.
Ben Jones hanging out in the studio with us.
So then how does that conversation change with a young quarterback, right? Because I imagine it's one thing when you're talking to your line mates, the guys you're spending every rep with in the locker room next to. How does it change? Like, what would you be saying to Will Levis as you bridge the gap from week 1 to week 2?
Hey, you don't have to be Superman. We have guys around you to make plays. We're going to give you the opportunities for you to succeed. Hey, we got to do better protecting. But we need you to make these throws when we need them. Hey, if you give us a 0 on the board for turnovers, we're going to win games. So just, hey, you don't got to be Superman this year. you have weapons out there. You have 2 good backs. You have some receivers now. Like, hey, let's take care of you, and you don't have to be the guy no more. Like, just be the facilitator.
What's the discourse like with the play caller as an offensive lineman, Ben? Because Callahan, I don't know how well you know Brian, since he's been obviously in the league for a long time. This is a football family, of course, so he's a lifer. But with him, he kept bringing up the idea that it was difficult for him to get into a flow as a play caller, and I'm wondering what the conversation is like with an offensive coordinator. This is obviously a head coach, so a bit different. Yeah. But with the offense on the sidelines, when you come to the sideline, when you've got the surface in front of you, when you're making those corrections, what's the dynamic kind of like there?
Yeah, I know, like, in the past, like, when we had Keith Carter, I know he was like the run game guy. Then you had Art, who kind of had his hand in the run game, and he did all the pass game, and, like, Todd Downing did the red zone. So it's so many guys are trying to, hey, I'm trying to get this play called. They're all giving him ideas where sometimes, like, you have a Shanahan, he runs the show. Like, I don't care what anybody tells me, I'm calling this play. Like, everybody else is like, yes, sir. They do all the brunt work up front, so this is his first time calling, so he's got to get in a rhythm. And that's the thing. Like, it took Art 6 or 7 games when his first time calling. We were not good.
Oh, that Carolina game, Ben. I'm still mad at Arthur for that.
I was concussed that game. I didn't play.
Look at you. That's one of the few I can't pin on you.
No doubt. Yeah, we started out 2-4 that year, and finally he got in a rhythm by, like, hey, we're going to go no huddle when we get a first down. We're going to take the defense so they can't give us exotic stuff. So I'm going to make it very vanilla, but we're going to have our whole playbook up. So we had to learn a million terms, and we knew what they were going to do on defense to get our playmakers the ball. How can we give AJ the ball when we know we go no huddle? They're going to be in 2 or 4 cover 2 or cover 4. Like, hey, you can get this guy in space. Or, hey, they can't get exotic blitz on 3rd down when we go no huddle. So we don't have to block the extra guy in there. So we found a way that worked for us, and it made him confident because he was like, hey, we're going to get on the ball and do this. And that's the thing. He's going to get in a rhythm. It takes time as a play caller. You got young guys, and you're trying to make everybody happy. So I got faith in them, and it just takes time. It's a long season.
Well, and that point too, right? The idea of growing as you go throughout the course of a season, because it's not a finished product once training camp ends, right? That process continues, and you figure out how much of the install you can actually run once you put it into practice, not just in practice, but in real live game reps. So for people who are looking at the offensive line, because we have talked about them a little bit, but it was not a good day for J.C. Latham and Peter Skoronski in particular. They had some nice plays in the running game, more specifically in the first half, but in pass pro, those two specifically struggled. But when you watch those two in particular, what are you kind of seeing from them right now, and what gives you confidence about them that this is going to be at a unit that improves incrementally throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, they're there for a reason. They have the talent, and you can, when you talk to Taylor back in the past, his first 2 years wasn't great pass pro, but it's a learned art. You get comfortable with it. Run blocking is effort. Like, if you run the ball good, it's because you care. Like, you're out there grinding them out, and you care about it. Like, run blocking is not pretty. Pass blocking, you got to have, it's an art. Like, hey, I know I'm going to change up my pass. I'm going to change up my set this time. I'm going to get back on this angle. You can't throw a fastball every time at left tackle because those guys are unreal on the edge. So he's got to know, like, Peter, hey, I got to go get this guy this time. So Peter's got to go get that guy. So it's just the fact that they got to work those things out together. And the more reps you have on pass pro together, the better.
I still like giving Taylor hell about them almost drafting Laramie Tunsil. I know they ended up going with, was that the same draft as Conklin?
Jack's year.
Yeah, that was Jack's year. Taylor getting all in a huff about, I don't play right tackle. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's Taylor. He's left-handed. I'll give him credit. He can't play right-sided. He's only one-sided.
We talk a lot about the improvement from week 1 to week 2, and Brian Callahan talked about it yesterday, sometimes the biggest jump, and that's every level, right? You're coaching high school ball now. High school coaches talk about that all the time. For the offensive line, especially a group that's really playing together competitively for the first time, how much growth can you see from that first game playing together in the regular season to the second?
Yeah, you know what we struggled on. We're going to make it simpler for them. Like, hey, this is what we're thinking on 3rd down. Like, hey, is this a guy that I can go get? Like, you're playing the Jets. They got some good guys up front. But, hey, they ran the ball well last night. The 49ers did on them. So, hey, let's get the 3rd and short so we can take advantage of doing some jump sets and being flat on our set so we don't have to sit back and pass off these games where those guys are really good. So if you're in 3rd and long, it is not fun for an offensive lineman. You want the ball to come out quick. They're not jamming them. They got good corners, so let's get in 3rd and 4 and less, and it helps the O-line a lot.
Were you surprised to see the Jets defense look that way? I know the Niners are good, and Shanahan is just scheming ways to beat them as much as anything. It's not that they're outright winning, just solely winning up front. It's that they were being out-schemed.
I think Joe Buck made the point on the broadcast that Kyle Shanahan would probably rather win that way with Jordan Mason than with Christian McCaffrey in a full arsenal. Because he can.
No, and especially because he's doing it against his former defensive coordinator. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan takes great pride in that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought when I'm sitting there looking at them, I'm like, hey, the Jets are going to get after these guys. They're usually known for that front four, stopping the run, getting after the passer, which they really didn't. They ran it on them with ease, and that is not the Jets defense that we saw the past 2 years, and they're going to have a little fire this week. I hope our boys, they better bring it because those boys are getting ripped up there right now because they are their standard of their defense, and they take pride in that D-line and how they practice and how they dominate offensive line. So we better strap it up and be ready this week.
Have you played against Quinnen Williams before?
Oh, yeah.
What makes him unique as far as interior guys go? Because there's a lot of good interior players now, but Quinnen Williams is, I know the offseason rankings don't necessarily matter, but there is no question he's a top 3 inside the defensive lineman.
You take Jeff, then say bigger. He's a bigger Jeff. Like, Jeff is great, but
big Jeff, but bigger.
Bigger. Like, he's heavier, he's longer. Like, Jeff is a bull in a china chop. This guy can beat you with speed. This guy can run you over. He's just a larger Jeff, and he's got juice too. So imagine Jeff just a couple inches taller, a couple pounds heavier, and the defense that penetrates. He's not having a 2-gap read and a 3-down front. He is attacking every play.
So Lloyd Cushenberry, it sounds like fairly well.
Yep.
Lloyd is somebody who's going to be relied upon heavily to help further the development and ease the learning curve for a group of offensive line that are trying to coalesce as a unit. Lloyd in particular, what do you like about his game, having played the position yourself?
Yeah, he can do it all. He can run block, he can pass block. For his sake, he's got to be the guy in that room that everybody comes to. Like, hey, when stuff's hitting the fan, he's got to be the calming element. He's not a holler. He's not a get-in-your-face kind of guy. He's a guy that they can trust and like, hey, we can fix this. Like today, Monday, Tuesday, he's the one who's got to put his arm around them in the locker room like, hey, you want to grab a couple extra minutes of him before meetings on Wednesday? Like, hey, you can do this. He's got to pull like 5 or 6 clips for him and be like, hey, this is what you got to do. You got to do it all game long, not just, hey, pick and choose one play. He's just got to bring guys along because it's going to be ugly on some days when you're sitting there and watch tape. Like, you just got to bring that morale in the room and bring everybody along. Former
Titans center Ben Jones hanging out in studio with us. We're talking about what happened between the Titans and the Bears and how it can be, or at least try to be, prevented against the Jets.
So as much as we talk about Levis being a young quarterback with all the stuff that's being thrown at him, how much is J.C. Latham just absorbing right now? Like, how much is week one, just that introduction to the NFL? Because the Titans defense, as dominant as it was, we talked about Denard Wilson taking advantage of that being the first time Caleb Williams saw an NFL defense. It's also the first time for J.C. Latham as well. So just how much better do you expect him to be in week 2, especially with Bill Callahan helping him bridge that gap?
Yeah, I always tell a young guy, like, hey, don't look at the big picture. Just focus on the small things. Like, hey, is it my stance? Is it my punch? Like, fix something. And they're going to be at home, so they're not have to do silent cadence. That is an issue for a tackle early on. Like, seeing the snap, timing it up. You get to be at home. You get to use your cadence against you. So, let alone that should help him right away, not having to be on the silent cadence and try to block a monster on the edge. So, being at home is big for us.
Could you kind of go into a little more detail about the difference between the silent count and being at home where that's not an issue? Because people hear that, but what are the processes for you that are different when it's a silent count on the road in a hostile environment?
Yeah, for me at center, it was great.
Also, that's a fine that your phone ding. Typically, we have people read who texted you on the air, but I won't do that.
Read the content of the message.
It's probably my wife. And it was. And did you hear the ringtone going off earlier? Andy Griffith? That was my ringtone going off. Buck, I have to be a responsible human. I have kids, so you never know.
Fair enough. Don't shame me for your phone going off. That is not the way to combat the fine system.
So silent cadence. For the center, it's the best thing in the world because I can snap it when I'm ready. But for everybody else, it's got to be the exact same every time. So when me and Taylor would take 1,000,000 reps after practice, before practice, because he wanted to know, like, hey, when you going to release it? Like, it's not when I was at the top I would release. I'm like, Taylor, as soon as you see my head start work, jump it. Because I'm going to jump the cadence, you jump the cadence. So he wants to jump, I want to jump. So we all would do it. We did it every day that week of practice. We'd come out as a whole group. We would do team takeoffs, team get-offs, so they could time up every single snap. Because if he's waiting on that end's not looking inside. He is beelining for him. So Taylor was the one that always took pride in being exactly a little early on the count, and that's how you play. If you're behind, you're late.
The degree of difficulty on the quarterback and the representative sample size that we have of him, Ben, because he's not a young player. He's damn near 20. Is he 25? Going to be 26? Will Levis? He's older than you would probably think he is for being in his second year as an NFL
turned 25
player.
in June.
Okay, so 25 in June. He's had 10 starts in the NFL. How much time does a quarterback need to get comfortable with the art of diagnosing and running an offense with flow and with rhythm? How long basically before I can stop treating him like a rookie? Because I don't like that crutch is already being tossed out there for a player that has 10 starts in the league.
Yeah, I would say, hey, you should see a big jump between 1 and 2, but he had to learn a whole new offense again. So you got to give him a little like, hey,
okay,
it's new verbiage, it's new hots, it's new guys protecting for you. So it's not like, hey, I got the whole offseason. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to come in and be confident in the huddle because I already know the formations. I know the plays. He's starting all over again. So it's not easy. It's a lot of verbiage they do at quarterback. That's why they get paid $60 million like Dak Prescott. And the good ones are really good, and that's why they get paid that much. So if he's trying to take it to that level, he's got to perform a little better for us. He's got to be the rock that everybody looks to, because if you're making that kind of money in the future, like, you got to be that guy. So he's got to play better.
Quarterback demeanor. It's not like Marcus was any kind of like loose cannon that way. In fact, it was almost more noticeable when he showed that fire, at least visible to us, right? I know that you guys deal with him in a different sense. Tannehill, kind of the same, always very even keeled in the way that he managed the situations. With Levis, it feels like he presses more as the game goes along, which is where you saw the unraveling. It felt like as offense started to become harder to come by against a really good defense. As a veteran center, how would you handle a quarterback like that, understanding that you've played with a variety of different quarterbacks, but maybe not necessarily one like this?
Yeah, for me, I had Marcus and Tanny here who were a lot the same, like with the demeanor and how hard they work. They showed you, hey, I'm a leader by how I'm in the building, how I'm staying extra after practice. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to holler at my O-line, I'm going to do that. Because he had guys to do it for him. Like, Tanny would be like, hey, Ben, pick it up. I'm like, I got you, we got you. So he could come to me, Taylor, Delaney, other guys, Derek. Like, we handled our room for him. So he could be the guy, like, could stay focused, stay even keeled, get it fixed during the game, instead of being on the sideline having to be the hype man. He was over there like, hey, with the OC, with the quarterback's coach, hey, we're going to get another opportunity. We're going to make a drive, and we're going to win this game. So he was always that way, no matter if it was the first play or the last play. You hardly ever saw Tannehill on the roller coaster.
Well, it's just the idea of understanding how to delegate, right? Yeah. Like it's in any managerial role, for a lack of a better term, you got to lean on the people around you who may have a different level of expertise or may have a different level of comfort with that specific situation. Because, I mean, the thing that stands out to me, Ben, about the locker room is guys are always going to smell out if it's inauthentic, right? If you're going over the top to try and, and maybe it's coming from a place of genuineness that you're trying to force yourself into a leader role or trying to do too much, for lack of a better term, but there's probably some art in delegating in a locker room that people don't necessarily understand.
Yeah, you have stripes to it. You have different ways, and that might be his MO. Like,
sure.
I don't understand. Like, some guys have that fire. Like, Brady was a guy like that. Manning was a guy like that. But you have a lot of guys who do it the other way. So it's no wrong or right way. If he's going to be that guy, he's got to do it every week. And because if it's just sporadic and stuff, and when it's not going well, it doesn't take well from the O-line. But I know, hey, if this is what you are and we're not playing well, you're going to be the juice, that's fine. You just better bring it every week.
Former Titans center Ben Jones has been kind enough to hang out in studio with us.
Before you go, got to ask you about your time and what you're doing with Ensworth right now. Coaching a little bit under Tim Hasselbeck. I know Matt is part of that staff. I saw you post something on your Instagram of you and Matt and a couple other coaches sitting on top of a press box.
It's half an NFL roster.
Some play sheets in front of you guys. Yeah, man, it's cool. I mean, as somebody that spends a lot of times in high school press boxes, all sorts of conditions, all sorts of different situations, especially on the road. I love seeing you post that. How much enjoyment are you getting out of that? And you guys are off to a pretty nice start, 3-0, headed to Knox Catholic this weekend.
Yeah, it's the rawest form of football. Kids love it. They care about it. They want to be coached, and they're trying everything in their power. Like, hey, can I do this? So it was me. I was like, hey, I needed to scratch a little itch. I want to go out there and help in the community. And Tim's wife led the Titans Wives Bible study, and Tim's been great to me. Like, I'm like, because it is a transition out the league, and I'm like, hey, what do I need to do? I want to scratch that itch with football, and he's been great to me. He's like, hey, come whenever you need. Like, if you want to be here 1 day a week, 2 day a week, every day, like, it's up to you. I want you to be here when you want to be here, and so it's been great. And every week I'm like, I might come an extra day. I might come a little more because I don't want to let anybody down. That's how it was with the Titans. I wanted to give them my all, but I have kids at home, and I want to coach all their sports too. So I'm trying to delegate all my time and make sure I'm there for pickup and there for the kids, and because I don't want to let them down on Friday nights either. So it's been a good balance of trying to get it all figured out.
I love that for you, buddy. That's awesome. Well, we'll find things for you to do this football season if you find a little extra time amidst being a responsible parent and of course a high school football coach and everything else that you're doing. Also, the Players Lounge show specific to the Georgia Bulldogs that airs what nights?
We do a recap on Sunday nights, and Thursday night we do the leading up game.
Okay, so Sundays and Thursday nights you can subscribe to YouTube. It's a really fun cast of former SEC athletes talking ball. It is about as just straight distilled football as you can get, and I would highly recommend it. It's good to see you, bud.
Buck. Good to see you, Lucas.
It kind of trailed off there with Lucas, though.
He's over there on his phone.
Lucas. He's always. It's one of the funniest things that when we do these interviews, Lucas looks like the most distant. Maybe he is the most distant.
I do look disengaged, but I'm cranking it out on social media. But I'm trying to get you out there.
He's working. Yeah, he's working. Unlike you over there, Buck. You just
get the hell out of the studio. Get out of here right now. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.